Hello and welcome to Guns and Gear. Today is Friday. 1 week since we learned of the horrific event that took place in Newtown, Connecticut, where so many families are mourning the loss of their loved ones, many of which are young children. We've seen an outpour of support for these families, a shared heartbreak, an extension of thought and prayer. We've seen much emotion, outcry, outrage. How could this happen? Why would it happen? How can we prevent this from happening ever again? This has dominated the national conversation. There are many that suggest the only way to save our children is to ban these dangerous military type, assault weapon type firearms. That we must also restrict these high capacity magazines not to exceed 10 rounds. I disagree. Many of the legislators, our representatives, have rushed to support this. Our own president has spoken eloquently, saying we can tolerate this no longer. We must stop these mass shootings. No matter how complex the issue is, assuredly there's something that we can do. We must take meaningful action. I agree with our president. However, I disagree with the priority of action he wishes to take. You see, he wants to see these assault weapons bans, these restrictions on magazines not to exceed 10 rounds. I don't understand it. Do they not see the true numbers from the FBI? They have to. Both anti-gun sites and pro-gun sites often talk of that data. No one suggests it's not credible. I've already made videos talking about some of it. How during the assault weapons ban, if we look from 2007, after it ended back in 2004 to this very day, the actual numbers of murders have gone down. Not up. Not the insurmountable carnage that we were promised back in 2004 when the assault weapons ban ended. How could that be? Actually, if you look at all crime statistics on the FBI website, violent crime, they're going down. How could that be? With so many more people in this country than were during the time of the assault weapons ban, how could the numbers be going down? With so many more of these assault, these military type, whatever terminology you want to use, so many more of these weapons available. So many of these high capacity magazines available, more than ever before. How could the literal numbers be going down? I think it's due to some of our gun laws. That's right. Some of our gun laws have helped us. Gun laws that has made it easier for law-abiding citizens to arm themselves. Gun laws that has made easier access to the average law-abiding citizen to get a permit to carry a firearm. Many of these responsible citizens have chosen to arm themselves. And as a result, we are seeing those criminal numbers all decrease. From 2007 to this very day, there has been a steady decline in all manners of crime, especially violent crime, gun violence, and murder. But there are many that don't want us to know that. But it's there for us to see. The FBI website. The raw data from all the police agencies throughout the United States. I think, however, there's laws that we need to look at to see if they are doing the job they were intended to do. You see, the title of this video, I'm talking about gun-free zones. the terminology is widely applied, but it does have basis in law. The Gun-Free School Zone Act of 1990, a federal statute that makes it a crime to possess a gun within 1,000 feet of any school, whether public, private, or parochial. However, in April of 1995, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled 5-4 that it was unconstitutional. The case, United States versus Lopez. Immediately that same year, new legislation was introduced titled Gun-Free School Zone Amendments Act of 1995, that very same year. As set to be an amendment to Title 18 of the U.S. Code, language is very similar. It shall be unlawful for any individual to knowingly possess a firearm at a place that the individual knows or has reasonable cause to believe is a school zone. It further states that it shall be unlawful for any person to discharge or attempt to discharge a firearm at a place that the person knows is a school zone. This is obviously a law of good intent. That's further proven if we actually look at the congressional record during that time. And I have cataloged S7920-7921. States, Mr. Cole, Mr. President, with my colleagues Specter, Simon, Feinstein, Bradley, Laudenberg, Chafee, and Kerry, a sharply divided Supreme Court has struck down a law. A new bill has a change to ensure constitutionality. The Lopez decision cannot be used as an excuse for complacency. I further quote, Mr. President, this bill is a practical approach to a nation epidemic of gun violence plaguing our education system. How can Congress turn its back on our children when their safety is being threatened on a daily basis? So, from the first law to the law that's in existence today, we have seen this in place since 1990, resumed in 1995. But yet we all can remember the different mass killings that has taken place in these schools. The notion of a gun-free zone has been very popular, and it has been widely used in both law, maybe state or local law. Businesses has incorporated the idea in their policy with good intentions. But what has been the effect? You see, we've been asked to use our common sense, to be reasonable, practical, when we look at the idea of a firearm ban. What reason do we really need to have magazines that hold 30 rounds, 100 rounds? Well, let's use this same common sense, this same reasoning, same practicality. Do you reasonably believe that if someone is at such a state of mind that they have decided that they want to kill a large number of people, that this law is actually going to stop them? Is it reasonable to believe that someone with some type of mental incapacity, mental illness, deranged, maybe none of those, maybe they're just evil, have loaded up their weapons? They've loaded up extra magazines so they can exact terrible horror, killing as many people as they possibly can. They head for a school and then stop when they see a sign that says, it's a no-gun zone. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? It sounds ludicrous when you actually say it out loud, but yet that's what we've been asked to believe. Unfortunately, the truth is, we all know the names of those schools, the names of these workplaces, these businesses, these stores, these malls, these movie theaters. that were gun-free zones. And yet, the ones who would perpetrate such horror did not care about that law. It's ridiculous to think that they would care about that when they were going to kill as many as they could. So what has this law actually done? What has been the effect? Well, certainly it has prevented the law-abiding citizen who has decided to arm himself or herself for self-protection, for the protection of their loved ones. It has kept them from using and carrying their arms in these zones, these gun-free zones. I know many have said when we had these new laws, remember Florida when they had their new castle doctrine and people were saying that it was going to be like the OK Corral with all these people with guns, all these concealed weapons? But that didn't happen, did it? If it would have, we would have seen it on our TVs, wouldn't we? It would have been on the front page. As a matter of fact, we hear that people don't really use guns to defend themselves. They try to dismiss the idea. But we know that's not true, don't we? We know of the stories that are out there. They don't get the media hype. Maybe it's an obscure column in the newspaper. Sometimes maybe even a YouTube video. Remember that senior citizen that thwarted a armed robbery, chasing those criminals with his gun from the store? We know that they happen. But people that would further an agenda or want to conceal this idea from you, dismiss it, tell you that if you don't support gun weapons bans, high capacity magazine restrictions, that you have blood on your hands. Well, it seems like laws like gun-free zones, the people that support that, they have blood on their hands then. When you think of just Aurora, Colorado and Newtown, Connecticut, the gun-free zones did not save those many people from evil, from death. It's a fact, right? Use your common sense. We're told that mass shootings are on a rise. Yet the experts say that they are not. Look at the data. I found some interesting quotes I'd like to share. James Allen Fox, a criminologist at Northwestern University in Boston, he suggests there is no pattern, that there is no increase. Another criminologist at Minnesota Department of Corrections, and he has written about the history of mass murders in the United States. His name is Grant Dewey, D-U-W-E. He says while mass shootings rose between 1960s and 1990s, they have actually dropped in the 2000s. Mass killings actually reached its peak in 1929, according to the data. Grant Dewey estimates that around 32 occurred in the 1980s. That forced us to bring such laws into effect like the assault weapons ban, like gun-free zones, right? What was the result of that? Well, it went up from 32 to in the 90s it was 42. How come the laws didn't protect us? But when we started passing laws making it easier for reasonable, responsible, law-abiding citizens to again arm themselves, to protect themselves, that number drastically dropped from 42 in the 90s to 26 in the first decade of this century. That is the truth. People that hate guns don't want you to know, don't want you to even fathom the idea that more law-abiding citizens, more reasonable and responsible individuals that take responsibility for their own self-protection and the protection of their families and loved ones, They actually make our society a safer place. I asked you to use your common sense and your reason. Thank you for watching my videos, folks. I certainly agree. Certainly appreciate it. And remember to shoot straight on the range, and more importantly, and in life. Thanks.